I don't know if you guys know this. I have this Hot Topics channel in my Discord, and I try not to. I want it to not be just spammed with Overwatch shit, because a lot of times it's just like people self-promoting Overwatch content. But every once in a while, there's some good stuff in here. And someone the other day, I ended up putting this one in from Niandra, and I've seen a lot of their TikToks. They were really, really talented creator. But the interesting thing is, like, they talked about their like perspective on the state of Overwatch, and I took a quick gander. I haven't watched the video at all, but I took a quick gander like their stuff like down here, and it's like I don't think they're very balanced focused. They're more of like a lore creator, like lore, cool like aspect. Like I feel like I've always seen like cool facts or like sprays or voice lines or interactions, stuff like that. And I know that side of the community is really neglected at this point. A lot of those people who were working on that stuff got laid off. So I thought it would be interesting to hear the perspective of somebody outside my competitive bubble on what they think is good, bad about Overwatch at the moment. Because I played a ton at the start of season 12. I think season 12 is probably one of the best seasons they've had in a while, but it still doesn't have that magic for me. And so I'm wondering if that's just because I play too much during drops, because I have to, because it's my job at that point. Or two, is there something else at play? I figured we'd give it a watch. Their content's really, really good from everything I've seen, so I'm excited to see what this is.
Balance, monetization, and law. Hey there, my name's Niandra, and I wanted to do a big video about how I'm feeling with Overwatch 2. For a while now, I've had a lot of thoughts swimming around in my head, and just wanted to talk for a bit. I'm gonna split this video into a few categories, and I want to begin with some general positive thoughts. So in terms of this, I think the 2.5-month seasonal structure is great. I do think they could spread things out a bit better since the last few weeks of the season tend to be very dry. Also,
this season in particular, season 11, they did that actually very much more so than previous seasons. Actually, it's funny, I remember being on the podcast with SVB, and it was one of the... I'm gonna be honest, you're probably not gonna see many more podcasts anymore. I just don't have as much to say, because like at this point, I kind of like just know what's gonna happen or know how things are going, and I'm just like, oh, it, you know? But Frito was talking about how season 11 was actually stacked and was a really good season. I was like, dude, what are you talking about? The season's front-loaded. Like we got mid-season balance 2 weeks into the season, and all the events were at the beginning of the season. I was like, guys, we have another month. We have another 4 or 5 weeks, and I bet there's nothing in it. And then, lo and behold, there was nothing in it. So, like, this season in particular was season 11 in particular was very front-loaded.
Not every limited time mode in Overwatch 2 has been a winner, but some have been really good.
No, you say use it as nap time, no one will notice. I think people have started to notice. Like, we uploaded my version. Okay, so I always upload it a week after SVB uploads his, because it's his podcast, even though he lets me stream it, and he's always very much been like, dude, I want you to stream it, because, like, you know, it helps him and helps me, because, like, I have a lot more eyes on me on average than he does. That's just content, and it's like, you know, it brings a lot of people that maybe watch my content to his content, and it works out really well. So I always try to do like a week after to let him get his stuff uploaded. But I uploaded my version, which is my POV, not like the cool overlays. And people were like, this is just 2 hours of Flats sitting there saying nothing. And I was like, at one point, at one of them, I think you can actually look, I went 50 minutes without saying a word. I went unironically 50 minutes. 50 minutes.
Good, especially the ones that switch up how you play someone. You could argue that longer seasons would give higher quality cosmetics and game modes.
You know which one it is too. Sorry, I don't mean to take away from the video. I'm actually very interested in this video. I needed to get that off my chest.
But some have been really good, especially the ones that switch up how you play someone. You could argue that longer seasons would give higher quality cosmetics and game modes, which is definitely not wrong. However, at the moment, experimenting with 6v6 seems to be the only big thing we know is definitely coming down the line. So I think keeping up momentum and relevancy via shortish seasons is really important right now. I also think you hit diminishing returns at some point as well, since we consume through content so fast. As for other stuff, I actually really like the hero progression system. Blizzard did kind of do their usual thing of community asks for something straightforward and they do their own overly complicated spin on it, but I kind of enjoy how in-depth it is. All the map reworks and changes I've thought were great. Plus, there's a bunch of little things the game does well.
Yeah, reworks have been pretty good.
Also, every so often I remember 2CP has been retired, and I fall to my knees in Tesco with gratitude.
You almost
Honestly,
had
despite
me.
everything, I still think the core gameplay is fantastic, even when balance patches feel janky.
Almost had me, I'm not gonna lie.
This thing is great when you don't have someone in your ear telling you it sucks. Overwatch can absolutely be that game for you, especially if you're a more casual player. Although there may be more bugs than there used to be, which is partially just the nature of a live service game this big, there's still a high level of polish and fluidity that other similar games noticeably lack. Also, I want to quickly mention Juno. I only played her for about an hour during the weekend trial, but I am enamored. Her kit is really fun, it's really interesting, and I love her visual design as well. Overall, I think they just did a really good job with her.
Agreed. And actually, as this is being watched, they finally reverted the fire rate nerf. So, like, Juno's gonna feel like the way she does in the playtest. So, like, that's good, because the fire rate nerf was ass.
Alright, that's a long enough intro. Let's get into my first section, which is balancing.
Yeah, it's live now.
So
it literally came out like an hour ago. Actually, less than an hour ago.
It came out. I also recognize that it left a lot of heroes behind.
Sorry, I want to hear the beginning of this. Sorry.
Which is balancing. Okay, so I was actually pretty on board with the Season 9 shakeup when it came out. I also recognize that it left a lot of heroes behind, meaning I wasn't going to immediately freak out when they then buffed things. Power creep was definitely a concern, but there were also heroes that suddenly felt lacking in identity or just kind of lackluster. But it's been a few months now, and I'm not as confident. Essentially, I just worry we've lost focus a little bit. Personally, there's a couple of things that started making me uneasy. One of them being, how do I word this, rules that have an asterisk. Basically things like tanks having boop resistance, but Jungle Queen's knife specifically pulls them further.
True, yes.
The other day that Iardi still does full headshot damage against tanks despite their passive because she has a different multiplier. Regardless of my opinion.
What? Who knew this? Why? How is that justified?
Opinion on these as individual changes, it makes me think two things. One, I worry about the new player experience because live service games inherently become less penetrable over time, and two,
oh yeah, Overwatch is tough. But the good thing is most gamers have tried Overwatch at some point in their life. You're pretty good, like, on that department. Just like, how do you get them to come play it again? That's where the struggle is.
If we have started to need complicated micro rules or big buffs for every tank in order to make the role appealing, what does that say about the core foundation Overwatch is currently built on? Because if the foundation is poor, then we're just kind of throwing shit on top of something that doesn't work, which quickly becomes a mess without ever actually solving things.
That's a very good point. There is something to be said about tank in every game is a little bit hard to get people to play. It is a little bit worse than Overwatch, than, at least in my opinion, just because, like, it's an old game. The way tanks are designed is so different. I haven't been playing Deadlock for a long time. I've already learned quite a bit on how, like, their balance is, like, being done, and it's so interesting to me because they just do so many changes at such a fast speed that it's hard for people to get a read on the meta unless you put in a ridiculous amount of hours. Like, yeah, something pops out as broken, but, like, they fix it pretty quickly. But everything still remains somewhat strong. And it's weird. Like, it's weird where even characters that are on the weaker end, percentage-wise, like, for example, apparently Vindicta is, like, the lowest win rate hero in the game by quite a bit. But you can play against Vindictas that will destroy you, and you'll feel like they're just the most OP character. And it's like, what? And so it makes me wonder even about Overwatch's balance philosophy. And it's like, do they only, like, tune little things because they're afraid of the community's reaction? But, like, what if Season 9 type changes were, like, more normalized? And where, yeah, shit gets crazy, but can we all go back and remember when Season 9 came out? We all loved it. But, like we predicted, was we were all going to like it for about a month or two, and then very quickly see the flaws. And here we are in the future looking at all its flaws, but we don't change those flaws. So it's like, but if the changes happened fast enough, then you don't actually have those flaw moments because then you redo it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is you either have to change the foundation that Overwatch works with in terms of, like, how the roles work, or you go more of the crazy route where it's like you keep everybody guessing.
The more patches that build off of Season 9, the harder it becomes to go.
It's hard to say, though, and I don't think either one is more beneficial than the other.
backwards.
At least not yet. I haven't played Deadlock long enough.
Okay, that was fun for a bit, and fair play to the devs for taking a big risk. But is it really making things easier for the balance team? I don't know, it just kind of feels like the devs are slowly reverting things anyway. I could not tell you which characters still had bigger hitboxes and who's been reverted.
True.
The DPS passive has also gone back and forth and now affects tanks less. Plus there was even some talk of a few heroes getting lower health pools. Basically, the main point I'm trying to make in this section is that
that did actually end up coming true. And Genji was not one of them. Hanzo was one of them. Sombra, Juno, but Genji was not one of them.
It sort of feels like they had a decently strong vision.
Not that it was me, I'm just saying.
But then that vision has eroded over the last few months. Although,
like, I'm just saying, to further her point, what they basically said was that they were nerfing all the high mobility heroes' health pools so that they were a little bit more risky, but Genji didn't get nerfed. So, like, another exception to the rule. You know what I mean? Like, that's the point I think she's making.
I will say, giving everyone the ability to self-heal out of combat, that has been a fantastic success, at least in my opinion. In fact, I kind of can't believe we went years without this. Like, when I played Marvel Rivals, I immediately missed it. Another thing I do want to give credit to is that the devs are responding to some changes fairly fast. For example, after the big tank buff patch, it only took us 3 days to get some follow-up changes, which was really nice. I do have a lot of sympathy for the balance team because they kind of can't win here. There's just so many different types of players that want or need different things, right?
That's true.
I generally watch every episode of SVB's Group Up podcast, and even amongst content creators, there's not one single vision everyone shares. I've seen multiple creators who say they like it when Overwatch does silly or fun changes, but the difference between a change that's wacky and one that's just dumb is purely subjective, and even creators don't always agree on which one something is. This is also
That's why it always irks me a little bit when I see people say they should just listen to pros or just listen to creators, because it's like, I don't want to throw shade at anybody around me, but sometimes I see takes and I go, holy f. And I'm sure they look at mine and say the same thing. And the only thing I can ever say back is track record, you know? And it's like, how often do you hit versus you miss, you know? And I've seen a lot of people make takes over the years, and they're not normally big on, like, you know, they don't have like a big influence in that space, and they're just like genuinely wrong over and over and over and over, but like nobody really calls them on it because like nobody really listens to them, you know? So it's like
exasperated by the way that social
there has to be a little bit of you gotta be a little bit
encourage us to get our thoughts out as soon as possible.
A little bit thinking behind it too.
If you don't drop a video immediately after patch notes go live, you're losing viewers to a creator who did. This means
Sorry, hang on, let me back up.
This is also exasperated by the way that social media algorithms encourage us to get our thoughts out as soon as possible. Because if you don't drop a video immediately after patch notes go live, you're losing viewers to a creator who did.
The rat race.
This means we can be, to put it lightly, a bit reactionary sometimes. Also, this is not meant to be a call-out, by the way, especially to anyone in particular. I love my fellow creators, I have a huge amount of respect for them, especially the ones that stream for like 24 hours straight, because like, how do you not just fall asleep? This is more so a reminder that the community isn't a monolith, and that empathy goes a long way.
I know how that goes.
I have a better time with Overwatch if every so often I simply say, okay, I don't personally like this change, but at least I can see who it's meant for. Now, admittedly, sometimes I struggle.
Basically at you, yeah, I do crazy drop streams. I mean, logistically, it makes sense. Trust me, like there's a reason why me and Emong especially, have like a system where we flip it back to each other back and forth. It is a rat race though, and everybody has to go quick. That's the way it is. Getting your stuff out, getting your thoughts out as fast as you can is genuinely all part of the game, and my team is very good at it.
To see who a change is for, and that's when I tend to get concerned. Overwatch is never going to be perfectly balanced, and I actually think people would get bored if it was. That's why a lot of the focus for this section was on core foundation and overall direction of the game. Moving on, I want to talk about monetization and cosmetics. Obviously, the game needs to make money, and these things do so without affecting gameplay, so
I think the word's going to get really interesting because I have such a different perspective these days.
Like, I'm not going to be hurt if you don't care about this part of the video. That being said, I still think it's worth scrutinizing.
Wait, what was that in the bottom right? I will care if you're weirdly rude to me for criticizing it though.
Video. That being said, I still think it's worth scrutinizing, especially when we have seasons like 11, where it feels like fairly expensive
Yeah, you know what? That's such a good point. I don't care if you disagree with me, but some people are so weird about it, man. Dude, you ever like you ever interacted with a human in real life before? You can be like, yeah, no, I don't think that because of this reason. You're not like you and your entire family lineage and the curse of Rob on your firstborn. Like, dude,
cosmetics are a large
I said that I didn't like that somber damage went from 7.6 to 7.8. Suck my nuts.
bulk of the new content. Now, I have two lines of thinking on this, and even though they're in opposition of each other, I think both opinions can coexist. Side one, there are games more greedy than Overwatch that catch less flack, because it's less enticing on social media to shit on those games. Side two, although it's gotten better since launch, Overwatch 2's monetization is still pretty egregious in places. When people say they miss the boxes or want them back in the game, generally what they mean is they want a more consistent way to earn high quality cosmetics for free. Now, Overwatch cannot be as generous as it once was, but I don't think every player who wants more free rewards is a delusional skin collector that we should just dismiss. Anyway, I don't know exactly what it is, but is anyone else really hesitant to spend money on Overwatch, despite how much they play it? When it comes to skins, I almost think the FOMO is so effective that I just disconnect entirely. Like, I kind of hate seeing good epic skins in the shop because I would almost never spend money on an epic skin, unless they were super.
Wait, yes. I do that too, actually, now that I think about it.
But cheap, or they were for mercy. When skins are $20, you need 5 people to buy them to make 100. When skins are $10, you need 10 people. There's someone at Blizzard that's smarter than me whose job it is to crunch all these numbers and set the prices to a number people will pay for, despite the amount of Reddit posts from people who say, if skins were cheaper, I would act.
I've heard some things over the years, and it's like that is such a minority. Like you can think a Reddit post with 1,000 upvotes is, oh my god, everyone in the community is whipped up into a frenzy. Dude, you're not even like a 1%. Like you're less than 1% at that. Like you are such a small minority of people. It's like the same reason why like people think like one creator or some creator can like change the narrative about a game. No, it can't. Like, and there has to be a basis of truth to it that other people are latching on to as well. There has to be multiple people, at least in the Overwatch space. Like, you'd have to have multiple people and like multiple like chains of links that would be put together to do something like that. And it's like, dude, so one Overwatch creator, it doesn't matter who it is, like literally whoever you think is like the biggest Overwatch creator, like went out tomorrow and said, "Don't ever buy another Overwatch skin. Let's boycott the game." That wouldn't even make a dent. It literally wouldn't be a fly banging into the window on how small the reach is compared to how big like the casual non-watching creators, non-engaging with content, literally people that just like know Overwatch and they hop in once every couple weeks and just like, you know, they hop on, fly around on Pharah or Mercy or run in on Reinhardt a few times and then leave. You know, it's not even close. It's not even close.
Actually buy them. So in a way, it feels pointless to complain about the pricing, but like, there's a lot of shop skins I have never seen used. And I think you can—
Wait, what the f*** is that? Not this one.
Never seen used.
I have literally never seen this skin in my life.
And I think you can tell which ones are not moving
sales
sales because they come back as event rewards or Twitch.
I've seen all of the other ones.
With a roster this big, it is really hard to justify $20 on one skin for a character that I don't play that often, especially when I have a big backlog of Overwatch 1 skins that I can use. But then half the newer heroes don't get capitalized on.
Wait, I saw something. Venture not launching with skins felt pretty dire, not gonna lie. Oh, but season 14, not season...
I will be forever resentful that they packaged this absolutely gorgeous Sojourn skin with a Lucio recolor so they could bump up the price.
Wasn't it supposed to be for crowdfunding for OWCS though? Like, I understand that, but I think like the whole point of that skin was to raise money for OWCS. So like, I'm much more willing to give them a pass on that. Her point still stands that they were just trying to beef up the price a little bit higher. But I'm a little bit more lenient, at least on that one in particular.
Colors. I'm not inherently against them. When you
yeah, wait a minute. Why did they never tell us how much they raised? It was like 250K. Did they ever say that? Or was that like just like a private thing? Oh, because they didn't meet one of their goals. Okay, so there was goals that they had to get to, and then okay, interesting. Why did they never announce anything with the Pink Mercy? Why did we never find out how much Pink Mercy raised? How long after Pink Mercy happened the first time did they announce how much money it made? I'd want to know though. Interesting. Okay, let's keep going.
Trouble this game has had, I think shop filler is completely understandable. The pricing though sucks. I think they should either be flat out cheaper if you own the original, and or throw in the original if you don't own it. Preferably do all three.
Oh, is this about recolors? I apologize. Sorry, I was flaming some
shop filler is
child.
Shop filler is completely understandable. The pricing though, against the largest Sojin skin with a Lucio recolor so they could bump up the price. Oh yeah, recolors. I'm not inherently against them. When you consider how much behind the scenes trouble this game has had, I think shop filler is completely understandable. The pricing though sucks. I think they should either be flat out cheaper if you own the original, and or throw in the original if you don't own it. Preferably do all three. I think it was extremely gross to charge full price for a recolor of a base legendary you can buy with white coins.
I'm not asking about how much it made in 2018. I want to know the 2024. Please stop copy pasting the same message.
Personally, I also feel like they pick a lot of boring skins to recolor or bad color palettes. My two favorites are this Widow one and Rosa Hearts because it stands out from the others while also having a clear theme. It fills a niche that other Rhine skins don't. Also, side note, I really want more cutesy, artsy, fancy skins just in general. I feel like we've gotten a lot of cool, evil, robotic themes in the last few seasons and I'm just a bit tired of it. Like, please, can we just retire the robot voice filter for like 6 months or something? As for the Battle Pass, generally I like it a lot.
That's fair.
I think it's a pretty fair deal, and it's not that hard to complete either.
I feel like I've heard a lot of people say they want more cutesy Overwatch stuff. There's definitely going to be an outcry of like another group that's like, oh my god, why is there so much cutesy stuff? Like 100%, it's going to happen. But like, you know what? I actually agree with you. I think it'd be cool.
In quality though, right? Highlight intros in particular have felt pretty lackluster in recent seasons. This May one is just kind of bizarre. I feel like she should at least move her shoulders or something while laughing instead of being so static. I think the dip in quality is made more noticeable by Marvel Rivals highlight intros, which fully lean into being stylish. The quality of skins overall is still amazing, especially compared to other games, but I would be lying if I said I had not noticed minor slips here as well. There's a good handful of legendary skins that feel like they should be epic, but Blizzard just wanted to charge more. I've also noticed that there's a few skins and designs where the top half looks great, but then the legs and bottom half are kinda simple and boring. At the risk of sounding delusional, I also wonder if the more niche and lesser play characters would benefit from cheaper skins or being bundled together. We're not stupid, we know who the big moneymaker here.
It's so controversial, but yet so true. That's such a good idea, but could you actually do that? Like that? Oh, it's such a good idea, but it's so like, you'd cause such an uproar. You'd cause such problems. Like people would be like, it would cause so many issues. But it's right.
Heroes are right. Keep them how they are, but maybe throw together a 4 for $20.
Oh, I'm just saying last time it was around 2 months, and been 2 months now, so hopefully we find out soon. Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, I understand what you're saying now. I apologize.
Or a bundle with skins that didn't sell well or something. Also, Ultrawatch, love the Ash mythic, but I'm not the biggest fan of this theme, and I've seen a lot of people who felt the same.
Yeah,
I kinda wish they had done.
I was trying not to be a downer about it. I was like, oh, it's okay. It's just not for me, but like,
like a broader 80s or 90s toy theme, so you could still have some of the Ultrawatch skins, but maybe throw in a magical girl or two, or a 90s anime style profile banner, or oh my god, a knockoff
that would be
Tamagotchi
sick.
Charm. That would be sick.
No, we don't talk about the Tamagotchi incident.
So good. Like, really, would anyone be that upset if this Zarya skin didn't see the light of day? Because I've noticed for a lot of people, how good they think a season is partially or heavily depends on the theme and the skins.
It absolutely does.
Seen posts from people who
but it does specifically if you are an active Twitter user and an active casual player. If you're an extremely active casual player or a Twitter enjoyer, that is probably one of your number one things. Because I've never seen, outside of Twitter, I've never seen people complain about a season's cosmetics unless they're more expensive, right? Like TikToks, very rarely, at least in my experience. There could be obviously a side that I don't see, right? My experience, I don't really see it on TikTok. Never seen it on YouTube. You never really see Twitch streamers other than oh, I like this season or I don't like this season, right? Or those season's dead because of whatever. maybe Reddit, maybe. I don't spend much time on Reddit, so like, I feel like it's a big Twitter thing, for sure. Is like where people get an uproar about how good or bad and seasons are based on stuff. But that is true though. They like their point still stands for especially a lot of casual players. That is
just as much, if not more, about the battle pass than
what
they
they
do
care
about balance. Moving on, let's talk about story and lore.
Oh no.
I think we can almost all agree that this is one of the most consistently underutilized aspects of Overwatch, and it's unclear if it's ever gonna get better at this point. I remember some months back, a few players and content creators were like, you know what, I think it's a good thing that the devs are going all in on the PvP experience. PvE just hasn't been working, this is what they should be focusing.
And I was one of the motherfuckers who was like, you know what? I still wish I had my damn PvE. People were like, leave it alone. Leave it alone. Pre-watch the future? Wait.
Focusing on. And at first I was like, yeah, that's fair.
I mean, don't get me wrong. We all did hope that them leading on the PvP was going to actually do something. But it didn't.
Fair enough, I completely agree, but as time has gone on, I've definitely started to miss the intricate care that went into this stuff. I know I'm not the only one who finds it kinda depressing that most of the cool animations we've gotten recently have been trailers for collaboration skins. Like the Transformers trailer, the 2D Cowboy Bebop one, the La Seraphim music video. All three of
Yeah, but they're all only for corporate stuff now. Like all cinematics are only for making money now.
these were so cool and so well done, but I'm also hyper aware that they're adverts. Surely we could be doing more with this talent, like even that little Venture cartoon was really cute. There was Genesis, which was a 3-part animated miniseries on YouTube. This was cool, but I hate how it was—
Hey, pop quiz for anybody who doesn't remember. What was the point of this? Does anybody remember why this existed? I'll give you a hint. It was before season 6. Oh, you don't know what happened in season 6? You weren't here for season 6? Oh, just forget it then. Pretend I didn't say anything.
was released in 5-minute parts over the course of 3 weeks instead of just being a single 15-minute video. I also feel like they're weirdly hesitant to bring attention to the comics, short stories, and novels they do make. For example, Wrecking Ball got one fairly recently, but the official Overwatch Twitter account didn't mention it until days later, whereas Overwatch Cavalry, a fan-run news account, tweeted it immediately.
Yeah, let's be honest, Overwatch Cavalry legitimately does the job of the Overwatch Twitter account. They just do. They genuinely just do. And I get it. It's not totally the person who runs it their fault. They're actually a great person. I love them. They're a cool dude. I've met them many times. But you got to realize they work for a big corporate company, and so they're slow as f***, and they can't do anything. Like, they can't have fun. They can barely meme. And so Cavalry doesn't have those restrictions and can kind of just ramp up and go all out. They don't have to have meetings and all this other shit. Yeah, but Flats, they still don't follow you on Twitter? That's true. I should tell them to go themselves because Cavalry follows me on Twitter. But at the same time, though, I do want to be fair.
A part of me wonders if maybe they don't actually want to bring attention to this stuff, because PvE was never officially cancelled, but this might make people ask questions about it.
Wait, no, it was officially cancelled. No, it was. I mean, unless she's referencing something else. Like, it was officially cancelled. They literally said that they're scrapping. It wasn't? They literally said they're scrapping all the... What are you guys talking about? They said they're scrapping all upcoming stuff. There will be no missions. Like, not canceled. Listen, okay. I feel like okay, listen, okay. Technically, sure. You guys are right. However, though, in corporate land, we love to play with words, right? If you scrap all of your upcoming content on something and you lay off all the people who worked on it, that shit's canceled, brothers and sisters and non-binary friends. It's gone. That shit's cooked. This is the flourish conversation. Again, right? Like, guys, it's gone. That shit's gone, okay? I'm sorry. It's gone.
Most obvious, predictable suggestion that—
And I was one of the people who really wanted it, okay? And I remember all the competitive people around me that I'm friends with and know, and we talk about stuff. they're like, yeah, but Flats, now that they're not doing the PvE, the whole team can all work on PvP. And I was like, guys, they've been working on the PvP since in December when they made the decision behind closed doors before we knew about it for 6 months. And nothing good has happened since then. They've been working on the PvP the entire time. It ain't gonna get better, guys. And then I was the crazy one in the room again. Crazy Flats back at it again.
Is that we need no Overwatch TV show or anime. And I know why it gets suggested. Like, I definitely feel it's one of the few things Overwatch could do to potentially fix its reputation and get a lot of eyes back on the IP, especially if other recent well-received shows based on video games are anything to go by. So I am all on board for an Overwatch TV show, but I also feel like it would be the most on-brand thing in the world for us to finally get one after years and years of asking, only for it to f***ing suck. We would never live it down if Overwatch fumbled it, and to be honest, I'm kinda scared that they would. I am certain this won't be a popular opinion, and maybe it is dumb, but personally, if someone high up was suddenly very serious about getting this stuff off the ground, I kinda think that the Overwatch story should be given a reboot or soft reset. Please, just hear me out, okay? So what most people seem to like is the old cinematics, which are largely self-contained backstory and the dynamics between characters. Let's say these can stay, I don't want to retcon something beloved like dragons or whatever. But it has been over 8 years. The main present-day story has not moved all that much, but the writing team has probably changed multiple times. I think the main reason I would love a proper TV show or external PvE game is that it would give them an opportunity to sit down and say, okay, we have 8 years worth of material, what's worth keeping, what feels dated, what's pushed us into a corner, what can we do to avoid or fix scenarios like the Kiriko Age debacle. Like, the PvE cutscenes I thought were really cool, but some of them had so many characters. I know that everyone wants to see their favourite hero, but half of them don't say anything because there's already someone else moving the scene along. Which isn't to say that stories about large casts can't work, but I feel there's a reason Arcane didn't focus on the entire League roster and instead went for something smaller and more intimate. We've always kinda known that Overwatch's lore has never really gone anywhere, and in a way it can't do much because a never-ending competitive multiplayer live service game is so disconnected from traditional story layout. It's not like you can kill a character off in lore and retire them in game because, well, people have bought skins for them. But with Overwatch there was always potential that the story and lore would one day be given the space needed to shine, especially in the years waiting for PvE. With that aspect seemingly silently cancelled, I just feel kinda sad when I see bits of plot teased. It reminds
So, okay, I wanted to touch on that point because that was a lot. You know, I'm actually not against that. And here's my reason why. Overwatch, in my opinion, has lost its vision. That is the reality we live in today. And it's not anyone's fault because Overwatch is an IP. Overwatch is an idea. Ideas are made by people. People are what bring an idea to life. I have on my own team, my own editing content team, right? A couple people, Crap Retro, who I've been with for years now. And even with us, sometimes ideas don't get fully implemented the way one of us ideal or come up with it, myself or them. But when you work with someone for long enough, right, you start to get a better idea on like what they think or how they think or how you want to assemble things together and put things together and how to operate. Overwatch has gone through multiple from the top down layoffs, people leaving, retiring, quitting, whatever. Overwatch was made by those people, and those people don't exist at the company. It's completely started over, pretty much. Even Aaron, who's the head, right, was one of the original people on the team, but he's been there for so long, and he's not even the original head. He's a new head, right? But how many other people throughout that team are new there within the last 6 months, the last year, the last 2 years, the last 5 years, right? And as time marches on, new people come in, and they have to either A, learn of the ideas or learn of the ways things were done before you got there and acclimate to that, or B, transform it into something new. And Overwatch is in this weird hybrid where it's done both, where it tries to replicate things it used to do while also implementing new things. And the problem with this is the original people who had those original ideas aren't even there anymore, most likely. And so you have the new people that are trying to look back at the old stuff and replicate the old stuff to then transform it into something new. And so you don't even have the original people trying to transform it. It's why games like Elden Ring have done so well. And it's, I even learned about this somewhat recently, was like Elden Ring's team like refuses to like lay people off or like get rid of people. They want to keep their team the same because it's always a process where you're iterating and getting better, right? Like over time, you learn things, you make mistakes. It's why us as creators in Overwatch who have been streaming for 4, 5, 6, 7 years in this game or been playing this game. I've only been streaming for 4 years, but like I've been playing this game for 7. Go crazy because you watch them make the same mistakes that they've made years before. And how do they make the same mistakes they made years before? Is because it's completely new people. They didn't make those mistakes yet. You're watching people about to make a mistake that you watched them make years ago, but you don't have the person-to-person connection. You have the person-to-idea connection. And so they're connecting to your idea, the IP, and you're connecting to their idea, the IP, and you're watching them make a mistake that you've watched them make before, and you get angry, and you go, what the f***? Why are you making this mistake again? But no, it's not even their fault, because they never made the original mistake. It is a new group of people. And what keeps happening is it keeps rolling over and it keeps laying off and then hiring new people. And the new people come in and make the same mistake. And so now you keep muddying it up because you have a lot of people that were once there that are no longer there. New people come in, try to copy or try to reimagine the idea the original people made. And so like basically it's a game of telephone, where if I tell you something and then you go tell it to somebody else and they go tell it to somebody else, as along the line, stuff gets lost, right? Overwatch has been doing that for so many years, it's kind of lost its sense of direction. So I think the idea of a story lore reboot is actually kind of good because you can just hit the reset button and start over in your own vision. Yeah, there's people that are going to be like, but the old one was better. But at least if you do it well and everything makes sense and everything pushes forward together, you have a well-packaged, well-made piece of content or a well-packaged, well-made story. I think more people will look towards that and be like, this is good, as opposed to, I just liked the old thing better.
Reminds me of the layoffs and how short-term profit is the only thing that matters. I really want to end this section on a note that's not so bleak, but it's kinda hard. So you know what, shout out to the Overwatch community for their fan art of new heroes and theories and in-jokes or whatever. Some of the stuff fans have been putting out is so good, so full of personality, and it helps fill the gap left by Blizzard a little bit. Moving on, let's talk 6v6 versus 5v5. I intentionally waited until Aaron's monster 6v6 blog came out before finishing this video just to be safe. Firstly, I just want to say I think some people can get pretty nasty about this topic. I don't think it's fair for pro 5v5ers to say that 6v6ers are blinded by nostalgia and have rose-tinted glasses. But I also think it's kinda irritating when I'm discussing an unrelated topic and someone sarcastically brings up 6v6, especially when it's presented as an instant fix the game button. And
yeah,
that's the big thing to keep in mind,
that's
right?
true.
Like with any change to the Foundation, there's a lot of baggage that comes with it. I have absolutely no doubt that 6v6 would be a huge success initially. In fact, I think the devs would be out of their minds not to use it as a season hook to draw in players. What matters and concerns me is long-term sustainability. Ultimately, I don't mind the format we go with, but I'm worried we'll end up in a scenario where like, we love 6v6 for the first few months, then the cracks start to appear, maybe the devs don't balance it the way people expect, and we end up just as miserable, but other aspects of the game have been neglected because so many resources went into supporting a format change. Like, I would want them to put the work in to give 6v6 a fair shot. I don't want the devs to half-ass it and then say, look, see, it doesn't work, you guys can shut up now. My biggest concern overall, especially after looking at the blog, is definitely queue times. I used to be someone who was like, yeah, long queue times are fine if it means fair matchmaking. Then I would wait 8 minutes and get stomped, 9 minutes and stomp the enemy. Because even the most perfect
perfect queues do not exist.
Matchmaking algorithm couldn't account for someone having an off day or human error that snowballs. I've realised that the shitty matches affect my enjoyment much less if I can just get into the next game fast.
Yeah, I'll probably
Also, I just want to say, it's not actually clear how many players prefer 5v5, and I feel like no one ever considers this. People who like 5v5 generally aren't vocal about it because it's the default, we already have it, so
this might be a little controversial, but I feel like there's a lot of people that are towards the 6v6 train purely because they don't like what Overwatch is today, and they can also link back towards 6v6 and be like, this will be better because people told me it'll be better. And it's like, not even when you hear someone argue for it, they don't always say the actual reasons why it's good. They just like list off some nonsense, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Those aren't even the things that made 6v6 good. So I think it's like almost like a hope that it's like, oh, that if it did this, then it'll just be better. And it's like, no, well, yes, but no. Like, there's gonna be goods, but there's also gonna be bads, you know? Neither of them are perfect. Both of them have goods and both of them have bads. That's the problem.
There's less need to get involved in conversation. Samino is sort of seen as a spearhead of the 6v6 community, but could you imagine someone doing this for 5v5? No, because making videos celebrating the status quo would be kinda weird. If you are familiar with my content, you probably either know me as the useless Overwatch facts TikToker, or as someone who does educational Mercy content. Well, I also love playing Winston, and tank in general, specifically in...
I was gonna comment at the end of this, by the way, that their Winston is actually crazy. Like, the primal juggles have been top tier the whole way through this. I was gonna make a point of that at the end and be like, I didn't know they played so much tank, but like...
5v5. Generally, I don't get involved in format discussions because I know nobody is going to change their mind. It doesn't mean I don't have an opinion though. I think 6v6 had higher highs than 5v5, but it also had some really bad lows as well. During Overwatch 1, I remember my 4 stack of friends waiting in 8 to 11 minute quick play queues because none of us were queuing tank. And the reason none of us were queuing tank is because we were all burnt out from being forced to play it every single time.
Okay, so typically when I do my super long drop streams at the beginning of seasons, you know, like, it's a lot of people that I just don't get to hang out with very often. Like, I'll give you a good example. I don't get to hang out with Ruben too often because he's a nighttime streamer, / he's just like always in variety / VTuber land. Craggy's EU and he streams in the morning. Emong we typically get to play, but like during those hours we don't because like we're swapping off. Somnus is also EU, streams in the morning. So like it basically, a lot of my EU friends / like people I don't get to play with that often, or if I'm like been on a bit of an Overwatch break, I just haven't seen them for a bit. Always Faria as well. Faria also is like doing like music stuff and cosplay stuff, and we just like don't really stream at or even if we stream at the same times, we're not playing the same games. So a lot of people end up asking me to play at those times, and I can tell you right now, yeah, Boger joins too. Boger, there is nothing worse than when we have a 4 stack and somebody asks to join and they're the 5th and they realize that they have to play tank. Every time you hear them go, oh, because they know they're the last person who joined, so they're obligated to fill. And I remember one time Ruben like just made the most like depressing noise because like he joins and we all queues. He goes, oh, no one's playing. Oh man. And then he hits the tank button, and I was like, damn, dude, I feel so bad, but like...
I also remember how if you were in the metal ranks, queuing for tank without knowing how to play Reinhardt was kind of throwing, because Rein Zarya was the only pairing people there actually liked and knew how to play, which was miserable for me because Reinhardt is one of the only tanks I don't enjoy playing. Don't get me wrong, 5v5 also has its list of issues. As a big Winton head, I am well versed in winning a single fight, and having Roadhog, Cassidy, Reapers, and Yada all just suddenly pop up. I don't really know how you solve the counter swapping problem without making tanks more generic and samey, or by adding restrictions to swapping which most people probably wouldn't be into. When I play tank, I love interacting with the entire enemy team. This is why I love Winston and also Sigma, where I'll shield off a sniper or block an ability or whatever. The tank games I find boring, which definitely happen in 5v5, are the ones where the enemy tank is only going for me and trying to suck me into an endless tank 1v1 where the supports are glued to us. With the exception of Malva mirrors, because those are just the funniest freaking shit I've ever seen. As I said earlier though, I am open to 6v6 and I want it to be given a fair trial, because ultimately I think the devs should do what's realistically best for the game rather than what I personally like as an individual. Maybe that's 6v6 providing a stronger core foundation, or maybe it's 5v5 just because of queue times. Alright, let's wrap up with some concluding thoughts. So if it wasn't obvious from this video, while I think Overwatch has its many problems, it's still very much a game that I love and care for. I'm also very much aware that being a content creator for this game will skew my opinions and give me blind spots. Something that I think is worth considering is that you need to be the one that...
That is true, but do not sell yourself short. Even though that is true, you definitely have a much more basis of knowledge and experience than the average player does. And so even if you have blind spots, that's okay. Everyone does. Myself included in that one. Because sometimes people always say like, oh, I guess you're wrong too, right? Like, it happens. Everyone has it. But that doesn't mean you still shouldn't speak about it. You shouldn't talk about it because you are probably more informed than 99.9% of people.
Cultivates a healthy relationship with this game. The developers put so much genuine passion into their work, but Overwatch is still a live service game with FOMO tactics out the ass that will try to hook itself into you. Another good thing about the seasonal structure is that you can say, okay, I'm gonna take a break for a few weeks and come back when the next one drops.
Unless you're a CC watching this video as React content, in which case you're just kind of screwed. Okay. Yeah, not wrong, actually. We are kind of screwed. But yeah, no, actually there is no but. You are just kind of screwed. I've actually been super lucky that I can kind of do other stuff and still be okay. And that's mostly because of how good drop streams are. So it's like 1 week of pain for like a month of chill. And I mentally have come to terms with that.
But you have to be the one that does it because the game sure as shit won't. And on that note, that is everything I have to say. This video took way more time than I thought it does.
Back up that last sentence. Hold on,
you have to be the one that does it because the game sure as shit won't.
Oh yeah.
And on that note, that is everything I have to say. This video took way more time than I thought it would. So thanks for watching and have a nice day.
Really, really good video actually. It was actually better than I hoped. It was cool to get much more of a perspective outside of like the competitive balancy area. There wasn't anything really, at least I don't think there was anything I really disagreed with. There was some stuff I kind of elaborated on, just like, like I never thought about it that way. I've seen recently a lot of people say, when they see people do criticisms about the games, like, how do you fix it? It's like, well, what would you do, smart guy? It's like, well, we're kind of in a spot where it's like, everyone's already talked to death what they would want better or fixed or whatever. But this was a great one of both explaining their POV of why they felt a certain way about stuff, as well as like potential ideas on how you would, or how they would like to see it fixed. Also, yeah. So you asked if you wanted a link to the video. There you go. Whenever this gets YouTube uploaded, we always put it in the description and stuff like that. Niandra uses they them pronouns. Oh, I definitely might have. Yeah, let me just say really quick, if I did say she at any point, my bad on that. I did not know that. Whoops. Sorry. I do typically try to use gender neutral pronouns when I'm talking, but sometimes it slips in between. Bad on that. If I did, I apologize. That is not the intention.